Good morning, boys and girls. Today, make sure you have your writing notebook, and if you're doing that electronically, you have a computer with you, a sharp pencil, your swimming story that we started, and a keen mind to learn about writing hooks. Now, I want you to think about what you know already. Brainstorm all that you know about this word, hook. Why don't you write it in your writing notebook and write down the first few thoughts that come to mind. Okay. So you've written down some things that you think hook means. We'll find out what it means in just a minute. Today's goal: students will be able to capture your readers' imaginations by writing original beginnings. You're going to compose a sentence that hooks me in and makes me interested in your story. Students will also be able to write story starters in different ways, many different ways, actually 6. Good writers have interesting introductions as their very first sentence. Catch your reader's attention by writing a hook. And see, we have 2 hooks here. Isn't that funny with the worm? And this one is a different fly, actually, is what that's called, that has a hook. So we're going to learn to write different hooks. There are 6 different types of hooks. And so I'm going to teach you them, use an example from your swimming story. So they're all in the theme of the swimming pool story that you wrote from your summer holiday. First of all, question. Blaze, why don't you read the sentence by question?
Have you ever gone to the swimming pool?
Very good. Great. You can always start your story with a question. How about dialogue? I want to go swimming, he yelled. Remember, if you're using this exclamation point, you're adding extra emotion. The setting. This crisp blue water of the pool sparkled. Great. Question, dialogue, setting. Fact. Blaze, why don't you read that again?
Children need practice to learn to swim.
Super. Onomatopoeia. We remember what that is, right? It is a sound that's written like a word. Dustin, why don't you read that?
Splash! I dove into the water feet first.
Super job remembering we have an exclamation point. And funny. Bob, why don't you read that?
A belly flop is one way to do it.
Great, great. So we have question, we have setting, we have dialogue, we have fact, we have onomatopoeia, and we have funny. Let's look at some examples of books that we've read in class. The Lemonade War begins with what? Evan lay on his back in the dark, throwing a baseball up in a straight line and catching it in his bare hands. Which one is that? What has been presented by Jacqueline that wrote this book? Anyone? Okay, Blaze, what do you think?
Dialogue?
Well, no, this isn't no one's saying anything. I think it's probably the setting, don't you? See, it tells us that he's on his back in the dark and what he's doing right there. Great job. In The Locomotive by Brian Floca, he starts with just a fact. Easy enough because it's an informational book. Before the Transcontinental Railroad traveled between the eastern United States and California, is covered by a wagon over land or ship or either around Cape Horn at the tip of South America with a land crossing at its Isthmus of Panama. fact. That's it. Information. You want to tell me all about your swimming pool? Write one that has to do with fact. Pride. The story of Harvey Milk and the rainbow flag. You have to give them hope. Hope for a better world. Hope for a better tomorrow. Blaze, what is this one?
Dialogue.
Great! Yes, dialogue. Easy to do because you start with the conversation that's happening in your story. Now you try. Turn to a friend, or I'll put you in a Zoom group. Practice telling your story in the starting of your story in 2 different ways. And then they come back from Zoom groups. Now, try writing 5 sentences to start your story that fit into these categories: question, dialogue, setting, fact, onomatopoeia, and funny. Did you see what I did? I only asked for 5, not 6. So if there's one here that you're not quite sure of, when I'm walking around in a minute and I'm watching what you're writing, you can ask me about it. But just try 5. Reread all 5 at the end after you've written them. We're going to reread all 5 and you're going to see which story, which is the way you'll start your story. Now you're working with your writing partner who you know well to write these 5 sentence starters and to talk, right? Your writing partner is your talking partner. Okay, your turn to try. Today's goal: does your beginning capture your reader's imaginations? Remember, when you're picking out a book to read, if you open it and you read the very first paragraph, which we've all talked about, if it's not captivating, you're not going to choose that book. You want to write a story that people will stick with. Can you write your story starter in multiple ways? That's a good idea to try it out to see which one you'd like best. That's the end of the lesson. So let me tell you, I will monitor student outcome by walking around the classroom, or since it's virtual, seeing what they write on their whiteboards. The second thing, and having a conversation with them about it. Successful product will come when they turn their stories into me, or with a one-point rubric, they can turn their lead into me at any time and get feedback. They will practice both orally in the lesson and in a written form in the lesson. So the mini lesson is a little bit me, mostly them practicing. And some of the writing notebooks are electronic. I hope you heard that at the beginning. That meets the accommodations of those who may be easier to type rather than write. And the notes, all of these notes are made ready for the class to print if they need it right there in front of them, rather than on the screen or on my screen or on the board. So thank you very much. Bye.